And Cacti is the child, so she's visiting. She can stand wherever she wants to.
I stand somewhere else? Am I good here?
You're good. You can go like a couple feet that way. It wouldn't be a big deal. Hi, everyone. Uh, this is a video to pair with the document that I had made. It's just combat basic training. For in character stuff, because out of character is more effective, but it breaks RP and it's not very immersive. That's the point of it. But if you're watching this to learn combat, it's not a good reference for that, and it's not intended for that. It's just intended to, if you already know the system, to teach to someone else who doesn't know it very well, and check with them out of RP, and that they know that that's what you were talking about is the actual system we're using. So if it helps you understand it, cool. But don't go around teaching it to people if you don't know it. Just based off this video, watch Kaslin VR's video first and make sure you know it. Okay, so the first part about teaching this in character is, with anything in character, you gotta make sure you have the time when you're doing it. Like, if you're in the middle of the lesson and your team needs you somewhere else, you know, and you have 15 minutes, you probably don't have the time to go over this. But if you have a pretty free day, in quotations, for your character, then, you know, go wild. But the main thing for making the time is, that's the first part, making sure you have the time. And the second part is, when you teach somebody something, and with this system, it's just like actual teaching. So you want to be effective. You don't want to rush through it impatiently. You want to stop and make sure the student understands what you just said. Maybe don't ask them to repeat it to you, but just enough that, like, you believe they have the concept down, and you can check out of RP with that too. Yeah, and if you don't have the time, just ask if you could reschedule the lesson. If you guys never really get to learning it, feel free to plug the videos in here. Mainly Kaslin VR's video, because this one is just for teaching. And I think that's about all you need to cover on that side. Okay, so the first lesson, you'll be teaching your you know, your subordinate or whatever. Stand here. In front of me. Face me. The first lesson you're going to be teaching them is the line in the sand. And that's in reference to jousting, what we call in the VRChat community. And it's mostly means, this is what jousting looks like. It sucks. It's not fun to do, to fight against either. And it's very one-sided, and it's not immersive. So don't do that if you want to tell a good story with your character in the fight. If you want to steer them away from doing that during combat or spars, you could go about it like this. So, Ivan, first step, you know, this, stepping in and out and swinging, like so, it's safe if you're going against, like, a rat. But if you're going to fight trained fighters who are ready to analyze you as a fighter, they're going to be watching your footwork as well, and that is going to be messy for you, because if I can spot that and defend you long enough, I can manipulate that, and you'll be on the ground, and at my mercy within seconds. So what you're going to want to do is draw a line in the sand. This is how I picture it in my head. A barrier that you don't cross. And your mission as a soldier is to defend this line with your life. And this line does not move unless you or the enemy has disengaged or is taken out. And so, another way to look at that is, you're going to keep this line here, and your legs, if you picture yourself as a great tree or a massive bridge, are your support system, your roots. And the more firmly they're planted in the ground, and the less you cross this line, the more power you're going to have behind each strike. And that's mostly the example I use. It's my favorite one. You don't have to use that one if you don't like it, but I think it's pretty reliable. It's what I've heard in some martial arts classes too. It has like real world example in there, you know. Strong roots keep a strong tree up. Yeah, and then after you establish that, and, you know, I ask him, do you understand what I mean by that? In character, if you're still going for that. And if they don't, you can clarify out of character, but or in character if you can manage it. Then you would move on to this next lesson, so you can grab your dagger now if you want.
Left that at home.
Okay, cool. This next part is about the defense and attack ring, kind of, that you're going to be using as two characters. Clarified in 8 specific points of where you could strike or defend an attack from. And it when you're explaining it to them, it might go a little bit something like this. Basically, there are 8 distinct areas that you're going to worry about defending. It's upper right, upper left, middle right, middle left, thrust, and lower right and lower left. You're going to hold your weapon up, and I'm going to swing mine at you, and then I'm going to do it in this pattern. Alright. 1. Good. 2. Well done. 3. Good. 4. 5. 6. Well done. Nice. 7. There you go. 8. I do forget this one a lot, to clarify, and he knew because I had told him before, but your student might not think to do a thrust, right? Might not think to step aside like this, because it looks better for the spectator point of view, instead of just holding the dagger back like that, or any weapon that they're thrusting you with. You could say in character, so when I do this, and you're pushing that, I'm not putting very much weight down right now, but in a fight, I'm going to be trying to stab through you, and so if you don't want me to at least push you past your line in the sand or the root system, you could manipulate the weight to go to your side. Very good. And then, you know, try to show them what you mean. After you do that little exercise with the pattern, and then you're going to ask them to repeat the pattern to you. So that'll look like this. Okay, now you're going to do that same pattern I did, and then I'm going to defend, okay? Alright. 1. Good. 2. Well done. 4. Okay. 7. Nice. 1 more. 8. Just make sure they cover all 8 points, and if they don't, like if he missed upper left or the thrust, just remind them and then have them do it and practice that that move so that they can retain that in their brain. And you're going to keep that pattern going back and forth until they get really comfortable. So after he did that, I would go back to attack and tell him to defend. And then eventually he's going to start moving like, you know, a good timer for that is 1, 2. 2 seconds at the most is what you're going to hope for. And that's mostly for latency issues. For the defender's sake, because that's the goal for the strikes to get through, is the defender has to call that. And I think there's only one more before you're ready to move on to sparring, and that would be limiting the strikes down. You can limit it to 3 or 4 at most. I've done 5. I wouldn't be too fancy with the limiting because you'd just be showing off at a certain point. In character, there is a reason for that that I've been using, and it looks like. Okay, so Ivan, I think you're ready to move on. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that same pattern, but it's going to be more randomized and out of place. And it's going to cover all the points, and it's going to look more like this, okay? 1. Yep. 2. And 3. Right. Yeah. And then defending. And making a point to go back into defense. And then saying, okay, now your turn. And then they'll have about 3 strikes or 4 strikes. You could clarify not to do more than a certain number if you catch them doing that by saying in character, like, the reason we're doing more consistent strikes like this and I'm not going over the top is because if you hold your hand up here and I go like this and I'm still not getting through, then I've just worn myself out, and all the power you're going to be throwing back to me is not going to be easy to defend. An example of measured strikes and also worrying about your defense too comes across really immersive in character. And I think that's about it, other than one more thing, which is that when it comes to the taking of the hits before sparring, it's complicated to talk about in character, and so you might actually have to break character for this part. But mainly what you're going to worry about is that even if I think Ivan takes these hits, if I was back here and I swung at him and he didn't see me until a second later, or he doesn't see me go through this, and by the time he actually notices that I'm here and then he goes to defend it, that's technically a hit on him. But if he believes that he's there in time, I just have to trust that he's telling me the truth as a scene partner, and hope that, this is a fair fight and not something that, someone's being sweaty about because they want their character to win. Yeah, and that's about it. After they get the limiting strikes down and you feel more of a back and forth going, where he comes back at me with 3 strikes and I go back to him with 3 strikes, and the same... You could try to slow it down again, but the same pattern of just having it. And if they're going too fast, let them know too. So, like, this might be harder to defend than that. And so they're ready to spar now. He's ready to spar me officially. You can do the best of 3 hits, which is one of my favorites. You can do odds versus even dice roll to determine a winner. You can flip a coin. That's pretty simple. Any information on the character that says, like, I should win is not really I should win as much as what would make the fight fair. So I might be a really small dude compared to him, and he might be more devious. But even if I'm small and in pro tag mindset, I'm really committed to the act of using the spear, so I know how to use this thing really well. He might be more devious, so he's willing to pick some dust up and throw it in my eyes and fight dirty. That's not really saying that he's going to win or I'm going to win. It's just about the nature of the scene, and you're going to feel that out and determine, what the character, which character winning feels right. And then the only other note I have before we go is that this method of stopping and striking, man, this sucks. It's not recommended to do this to stop and strike. It's more of following through like that. And cleaving your way down, and it feels a little strange, so it makes sense if the other person doesn't feel comfortable, stopping and striking, but it just looks better to the spectator. You can tell better what's going on here than you can if I do this and then switch to up and down. But if they insist on doing that, for their sake, just let them know that stopping and striking looks a little bit like an advanced technique, and it has the potential to throw the fight flow off. So, I just caution them against it and recommend this one, but it's ultimately up to them, and if it looks good to them, you just let them have fun. Thank you, Irene, and Techno, specifically, for being here to reenact our training. And also Cacti is here too. Hi, Cacti. Okay, that's everything for teaching the basics. Like I said, go watch Kaslin VR's video if you're still confused about combat. Communicate with your scene partner. Have fun with the combat, and do it when you can. It feels awkward at first, but once you start getting more into the flow of it, it's actually really fun to do with people. And thank you for watching. this thing. I hope it helped. Good luck with your training out there.